So I got the inspiration for this video from Naval Ravikant. And if you don't know Naval, I don't know what you're doing. I highly recommend checking out his work and buying his book called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. And he wrote this tweet, which I just love going through his tweets. He wrote this, and this is where I got the inspiration for this video. Eat like a lion, work like a lion, feel like a lion, and live like a lion. And I would also like to add, look like a lion as well. Just like the whole package, okay? And he wrote a follow-up tweet on this one. It's more like a lion hunting and less like a marathoner running. You sprint and then you rest. You reassess and then you try again. You end up building a marathon of sprints. Now, I see a lot of people, they are like these marathon runners. Like life is a marathon, is like just doing work. They're like operating like cows, all right? Just like grazing everywhere. Just doing like work here. And by the end of the day, they don't even know what they have accomplished. So if you operate like a lion, you spot an opportunity and then you sprint for like 8 weeks, accomplish that, and then you rest and reassess and see where you need to go. Because, busy work is like, AI is going to replace that. Like all these automations and all these small tasks and all this like bullshit activities, like AI is going to replace that. And the thing you need to focus on is the most highest leverage activity. And we've done that with our company, and that is, podcast. That's another form. I'm going to explain the 4 types of leverage right now, and that's media, okay? So podcast and also our product, like our school community. Like that's our 2 most highest leverage activities. If we're not focusing on that, it's fine, but we just need to be aware of that. Like if we're putting out fires here, we're not really focusing on the main activity, okay? And obviously with your company, you're going to have to do that every now and then. But the best thing you can really do is delegate it, automate it, or just remove it completely. Like you can just remove it and see if any customers complain. And if there's no complaints, just like perfect, like no extra work, which is fine. And so I wrote down a couple of notes I want to cover in today's video. So the first one is the new economy of leverage. So essentially in his book, there's 4 types of leverage. Number 1 is people, okay? Number 2 is capital. I'll just explain all 4. And then number 3 is media, which I covered with the podcast. And number 4 is code or software, all right? So the first 2, people and capital, is permission leverage. So you have to ask people for permission, right? Like with media, for example, I don't have to ask anyone to make this video. But for capital, right? Like I have to actually ask investors to invest in my company. Like they're not just going to give me money, maybe, but like you have to, most of the time, you have to ask people and persuade people and, do this like whole keynote presentation for people to invest in your company. And then people, obviously, you need to ask people to work for you, right? And obviously you need to incentivize them with a good salary, good work environment, all of that. So that's leverage of like the old economy, right? It's still good, like I still use it in my company, not the capital one because we don't want investors, but the labor one, all right? And then the other 2 is obviously media and software. So we use both podcasts and also software with our school community, all right? So you want to do what people are doing, not necessarily what they are saying, but I'm telling you right now to use media and software. So there's an overlap. Media and software is the new form of leverage, and it's 0 cost replication. So you can make one YouTube video and that can get like 10 million views and it can go viral. People can share it even though you just made it once. You don't have to, like back in the old days, like you had to go to a conference and you can only host like 100 people. And if someone else wanted to hear it, there was no video filming it. You couldn't share it online. You had to do the conference again. But also, these things work in relation to others, to other people. So other people also didn't have access to leverage like media. So in that sense, it was kind of fair. But now if you're still doing it, I know a lot of people still do like the masterminds and all of that, but then there's another element attached to it like scarcity and a bit more exclusivity, stuff like that. So Naval wrote this tweet, or I'm not sure if it's a tweet, but he just said this somewhere. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. The most important form of leverage is ideas. Everything else, tools, capital, labor, is downstream of ideas. And the best way to come up with amazing ideas is by resting. Like your mind is constantly busy doing stuff. And if you just rest for like a minute, or like I'm doing right now, going on vacation, just like working as little as possible, even though it's difficult for me, but like that's my new mission now for these 14 days is to not work, even though I'm still filming videos and all of that, filming podcasts, shooting ads. I'm still working, but like, so I'm not really accomplishing my goal. But it's really important to rest, like really. That's how we came up with the idea for the School of Athens, is in Bali, like we didn't work as much. Obviously we still worked, I still did the sales calls, everything like that. But it wasn't like high leverage, deep work, groundbreaking work. So I was just like, traveling here and there, going to new restaurants, creativity flowing. That's where the best ideas come from, because your mind is actually resting and you can process all the work you've done prior to that, okay? So number two, it kind of ties into the first one, ideas as the ultimate leverage. So ideas drive scalability and also creativity over labor. Like I just mentioned, labor is like the old form of leverage. I think Naval also said, labor as a form of leverage will impress your parents, but it won't really do anything else. It's still important, I'm still using it, but it's not as high leverage. He also wrote down, play long-term games with long-term people. In the new economy, the person who has the best ideas wins. And also Einstein, imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world. And the best way to access that state is obviously through resting. That's where that's where shower thoughts come from. That's like the only spot, only time when you don't have your phone with you and just like checking social media. I even have on Instagram, it's called 1 sec. So like 1-SEC, 1 sec. And when I open Instagram, it like gives me this, not a prompt, but like animation where I have to wait like 10 seconds to open Instagram, because most of the time when you open your phone, your thumb just like goes to Instagram like randomly and just opens up. Then you're like scrolling on stories and like, what am I doing? So what that does is it snaps you back into the present moment and you're like, do I really want to open Instagram right now? And usually you just quit it because like you don't really need to check it. So yeah, number 3, work like a lion, not a cow. So I briefly mentioned that in the beginning. Most people operate like cows. Like, do you want to be a lion or a cow? Like, just easy, right? Like a cow is just grazing, doing busy work, got like endless to-do lists. But if you really focus on your most highest leverage activity, which we have uncovered, is media and obviously the product. So those two, if we focus on essentially product and marketing, that's basically it. And I even mentioned that in our community modules. Like the number one thing as an agency owner, for example, let's say you are building your agency like we are doing right now, the only 2 activities you should focus on is sales and marketing. Like that's it. People focus on, product and like obviously need to deliver good service. But in order to deliver good service, you first need feedback from clients, and you do that through sales and marketing. So you can't just sign one client and then think like, oh, I'm going to perfect my service. Like you can't do that because you don't have any feedback of what a good service is. And you do that through signing clients and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and iterating along the way. Here's a good quote from Naval. If you work like a machine, you'll get replaced by a machine. So people are working like machines, like just working 12 hours a day. It's like you can't get, and I'm not saying like I was the deep work disciplined guy, or not deep work, but like just like working 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day, just like work, because the more work I do, but ideas is the newest form of leverage. Like one idea can make you like millions, all right? So work like a lion, hunting in focused sprints, not grazing endlessly. That's essentially the busy work, all right? Number 4, the power of rest in an idea economy. Rest fuels ideas. Creativity needs downtime. And even David Ogilvy, like the best advertiser, to date, he would prioritize holidays, laying down on the beach. Like I'm doing that quite a lot right now. And I think it's very important to schedule in rest. So what I do is, like end of year, I do like a 2-week vacation. And also I schedule rest daily and also weekly. So daily, after like 7 p.m., after I had my last meeting or my last sales call, I, essentially turn off the laptop, shut down, and just like be present, read, maybe watch like a Netflix something, and just let your mind process, even doing absolutely nothing, just like doing nothing. And also, where was I going with that? and also the weekly one. So I work 5.5 days a week. Let's say I'm in my, work mode, grind mode. I work 5.5 days a week. So 5 days, Monday to Friday, it's just like, work, and then a half of Saturday as well. And then Saturday afternoon, I take off, and then Sunday completely off. It's very important because then you can actually process and reassess. Like Naval said, you want to, let me just pull that up. You reassess and then you try again. And most people aren't reassessing. Like Koen also says a lot, most people are going extremely fast, nowhere. They're working very, very hard and going nowhere. Like, what's the point in that? Like, you're just wasting calories and energy. So number 5, your personal struggle with taking off. So that's essentially my struggle. And I think you also relate to this as well. Is like, it's difficult to take off. It's like, you feel like, no, like I have to do something. Like even this morning, as I was laying in bed, like I have to do something. Like, there needs to be a goal. I need to, I need to go there, and then I need to do this, and then this time I need to do that. It's like, no, just like stay silent for a bit. And that's where like these new ideas come from. Like I mentioned with the shower thoughts, your brain can actually like turn off because you can't go on your phone. You can't stimulate your brain. And then your brain's like, whoa, $1 million idea. Boom. That's how it works. All right. Like I mentioned, it's hard to stop working. Rest feels counterintuitive, but in this new economy, rest is your superpower, truly, because Alex Hormozi and all these people are pushing everyone to work, but you can't. It's like a cow grazing. You can't think of new ideas. You can't. It's just not possible because you've got your blinders on. You're like a horse, just like blinders on. You can't even step back and look what you're doing. And that's very important, all right? And Naval said, learn to rest, not quit. You're not quitting. It's like, your nature. It's like, you are a workhorse. Like, I'm a workhorse. Like, I just love working hard, going to the gym, just like, the whole David Goggins thing. I know that's my nature. So learn to rest, not quit. Resting is part of working as well. Let's take the gym, for example. It's perfect example. Let's say I were to go to the gym 7 days a week, let's say 6 hours a day. I'm working hard. Like I'm being like extra disciplined. Let's go, right? I'm not going to make any gains. But if I go to the gym 5 days a week, let's say an hour a day, an hour and 15 minutes a day, you are working less than the guy who's going to the gym 7 days a week, 4 hours a day, grinding. I'm going to make more gains because I'm actually resting. Like in the gym, you are actually getting smaller. You're getting smaller because you are tearing down the muscle. Your brain is also a muscle, by the way. Like if you are doing knowledge work, and that is the work of this new economy, is knowledge work. If you are doing that, you are working your brain. Like, yesterday or the day before, we filmed the podcast and it was like an hour and a half long. Like we were drained. Like our brain was just drained. Like we couldn't really, obviously we weren't like, passing out or something, but like you can just feel your brain is like, I need some calories right now. I need to rest. And it's the exact same with your body. Like you need to rest. While you're sleeping, you're actually growing. It's the exact same with your brain. There was actually a study that was done, let's say you are studying for exam and just like sleeping 2 hours that night because you need to cram everything in. Like you forget most of the stuff you learn and actually getting a good night's rest, you remember all the things you've learned, right? So it's the exact same thing. Rest is very important. And I'm not saying this to, obviously I know your nature. Like you're not just gonna, when I'm telling you to rest, you're not just gonna take off completely, not work. Like you're just gonna become depressed. Like I know that. I'm the exact same. Like I have to work, but you need to, it's like, it takes discipline to schedule in rest. Like it's actually pretty difficult. So that's why it's important. Number 6, and how rest unlocks creativity and clarity. So this is where your subconscious mind start to, flourish. When you turn off your conscious mind, your critical, rational thinking mind, when you turn that off, right? That's when your subconscious starts to flourish and come up with these crazy ideas and these like shower thoughts and everything like that. But people's conscious mind and critical mind is constantly running, constantly. And that's not healthy. You need to schedule in rest. So here are some practical steps to adopt the lion mentality. So high impact sprints, and I know a lot of big entrepreneurs also focus on this. They do like, let's say an 8 to 12 week sprint, like 2 to 3 months, just focus on like one activity. I know like I would say 90% of the big entrepreneurs you watch on social media, like they work on one thing for like 3 months, okay? And that can be one thing of a big thing. Let's say we are obviously focusing on our product, our community right now, and let's say we have 6 weeks of modules, right? Let's say 1 week we're gonna focus for 3 months. That's like our sprint. And then after that, let's say 10 days, 12 days, whatever, we're gonna take off, rest, let our brain process what we've just done. And it's also more important, not how hard you work, but which boat you get in, right? And that's the whole Warren Buffett quote. It doesn't matter how hard you row, it matters which boat you get in. And which boat you get in is essentially the niche and the business model you choose to pursue. And like a 9 to 5 and everything like that, a corporate job, like that's also a business model. That is a business model. Believe it or not, like you are going into business and you are getting money from that. And it's more important to choose the right business model, right? And essentially, by me sharing all these ideas, you probably know which business model is the best. It's a product with zero marginal cost of replication. It's essentially like an info product or a digital product. Like you can make it once and then sell it infinite amount of times. And the niche as well. Obviously, you want to go to a pretty big market. And I don't know which podcast this was on, but essentially, I think it was like the founder or the co-founder of Google or something, and he mentioned you want to go to a big market, like a TAM, essentially a total addressable market. You want to go, just go to a big market, because then you create your product once and you can sell it to essentially 1 billion people, like, health, wealth, and relationships. Like those are the 3 big markets. You want to target these ones, okay? If you want to make the most amount of money possible. Obviously, there's riches and niches as well, but you won't be able to scale as much. Maybe you find like a blue ocean and just like tap into like this very wealthy niche. There's not a lot of people. That can definitely happen. You can do that, especially at the beginning. But once you start to scale like a lot more, you want to address a much bigger market, because there's more people. It's just much better, right? And obviously, everyone has those needs. The health. Everyone wants to be healthy, everyone wants to be jacked, everyone wants to make money, and everyone wants to have good relationships. So we are focusing on 2 of those. We might even add the relationship one, who knows? But we are doing the health, obviously. We're very focused on that. We are still going to the gym here, eating healthy, like we don't eat unhealthy at all, like really. And then obviously everyone wants to make as much money as possible. That's why we focus on those 2 in our community, because everyone wants that. So the market is very, very big. And schedule intentional rest. So like I mentioned, I work 5.5 days a week. So if you can schedule that in, like truly. And obviously there's a time and place for this. Like when I was the first year of starting my business, it was basically just work, because I had to do everything. I had to do the sales and marketing. And that consists of lead sourcing, that consists of the follow-up, sending the emails, personalizing the emails, doing the cold calls. Like I had to do that all myself. But once I signed 1 or 2 clients, I had some extra money. I could then outsource it, right, to other people, and that's labor. And also, I'm not too familiar or too experienced in the whole like venture capitalist, investors. Like we don't do that much, because especially with our product, like our digital product, it doesn't take money really. But if we have like a research and development team, maybe, but like it's only our time we are using. We build it once. Let's take a book, for example. Someone is writing a book, an author. Like it doesn't take money really. They need a publisher, obviously. So they take a cut of that book, or you can publish it yourself, but it only takes time. And it's kind of like a product. That's more a physical product, but the newest form of leverage is a digital product, because you build it once, you can people can access it instantly. Like you don't have to buy a book and then wait like 2 weeks. Even though it's not the worst thing in the world, you can still do physical products. We're definitely going to do that in the future as well. Maybe some merch, who knows? But digital products is amazing, and you want to use the 2 highest leverage activities, which is obviously media, that is podcast, YouTube videos, building personal brand. Like Iman Gatsi is doing a new event. It's called The One Thing, and obviously essentially what he's gonna do. And you also know when someone is like a whole side tangent, but it's very important. You also know when someone invests in something, especially Alex Hormozi, Iman Gatsi, like their whole reputation is on the line, right? And your most important, that's not a trait, But like your most important thing, let's just say it's a thing, is your reputation. Okay, reputation is very, very important. You know, Warren Buffett can literally lose all his money, go back to zero, and make like $1 billion the next day because of his reputation. He can eat McDonald's, he doesn't have to go to the gym, he can sleep in late, doesn't matter, because he has a track record of success, and that's his reputation, right? So he can make $1 billion the next day. That's why reputation is so important. And the reason I say that is because Iman Gadzi and Alex Hormozi are both investing in School, right? School.com, the software. And they wouldn't do that. And they're obviously very long-term thinkers. Sam Ovens especially thinks in like multiple decades. And he obviously started School, and which is a digital course product and also a community product, all right? So those two things are massive, especially now with AI, with all these automations and robots. People are craving like in-person connections. So then we are also doing like in-person masterminds. We're actually doing a retreat here in Hermanus as well, like an absolutely amazing, beautiful home. People are looking for in-person connections because obviously the pendulum is swinging. It's, all automations and robots and everything like that. So people are craving the other thing now, relationships, in person, that kind of thing, okay? So those are the things you need to focus on, especially in 2025. You need to start a personal brand. If you're not doing that, I don't care if you have an agency, a software, like it's essentially free marketing. Well, it only takes your time, but your time obviously also has value. Like you can tie your time to money, but it's the most high leverage activity you can do. Like I know YouTubers who post like, let's say 4 videos a month, and they make $1 million a month. So one video brings in $250,000. One video. It takes like, let's say 30 minutes, right? And you can make $250,000. So I think Alex Hormozi also mentioned, it's not that rich people, they work harder, or usually they're more leveraged. So they can make one video. It takes like 20 minutes and make like $1 million. That's where, they don't work harder. They just get more for every step. And that takes time. And usually the best thing you can do is build a personal brand. It all comes down to that. All these big guys, like every single big guy, personal brand. And then they sell some form of a digital product in the back end, and that's how they make their money. So do what people are doing, not necessarily what they're saying. But I am doing it and also telling you to do it. So I don't see a lot of people actually doing that. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed your 2024. Hopefully it was a good one. I know 2025 is just going to be massive. So, check out the socials. Everything like that is down below. I'm posting a bit on Twitter as well. And check out the Instagram. There's new content coming out on there. YouTube, obviously, might do some new vlogs as well. But just know, like Q1 of 2025 is going to be massive. So Q1 is essentially the first 3 months of 2025. It's 4 quarters, okay? I know Q1 is going to be huge. So stay tuned, subscribe, do all the things down below, and then I see you on the next video. Bye-bye.